The Six Major Paris was held in Paris, France nearly 6 years ago. This was the first Siege event officially given the title of Major. Originally, there were Pro League season finals and 6 invitationals, with the Majors now slotting in between the two in terms of prestige. Eventually, Majors would fully replace Pro League finals, but for now, they mark the halfway point of the season, with the Paris Major being held during Season 8. 16 teams with players representing 16 different countries competed with $350,000 on the line, a whopping $150K for first compared to just $55K for second. While today's majors have a set number of slots for each region, back then things were a bit different. G2, who we will definitely be talking about later, qualified by winning SI 2018 when the roster was still under Penta. G2 also would have qualified through making the Pro League Season 7 finals, and because of this, an additional slot was available for another team. Speaking of the Season 7 finals, the 7 other teams from that event were invited to this one, which were Evil Geniuses, FaZe Clan, Fnatic, Team Liquid, Millennium, Norengo, and Rogue. Also as a result of the Season 7 finals, Europe and Latin America were granted an additional qualifier slot for this event since the top placing teams at that event were from those regions. So EU and LATAM had 2 qualifier spots each, whereas NA and APAC had 1 apiece. The qualifier teams were as such: Orglis and Team Secret from Europe, Immortals and Ninjas in Pajamas from LATAM, Obey Alliance from NA, and Element Mystic from APAC. Team Vitality were there as the highest placing team from DreamHack Valencia not already qualified. Vitality lost in the grand final of that DreamHack to a team called I Don't Know, now playing under Secret. Finally, one team from the host country, France in this case, was given an invite, which was Market Esports. Add that all up and we get 6 European teams, 4 Brazilian teams, 3 North American teams, and 3 APAC teams, with those being 1 from Australia, 1 from South Korea, and 1 from Japan. This being the first event of its kind brought with it a certain level of excitement, but unfortunately the matches didn't really live up to that. To my mind, both this major and the following one in Raleigh were quite uncompetitive. Luckily this trend wouldn't hold forever, with all the modern majors starting with Mexico being much better in this regard. But to that effect, let's take a look at just a few numbers. In the group stage, 13 of the 20 matches played were won 2-0, and only 7 of the 47 maps played in groups, about 15%, went to overtime. Things were even worse in the playoffs. There, only 2 of the 16 maps played went to OT, a measly 12.5%. And both of these came in the same match, Rogue versus Obey. Small tidbit, this was the only major played when maps were completed in regulation with 6 rounds won. Starting in Raleigh, it took 7. Finally, only one playoffs match of the 7 wasn't a shutout, Evil Geniuses beating Ninjas in Pajamas 2-1. Even the grand final was a complete drubbing. More on that soon. But this is just how things were back then. Europe and North America were clearly a step above the rest. One notable exception from that time was Team Liquid at the Pro League Season 7 finals, which was the event just before the Paris Major, where they won, beating Penta in the grand final. But that made Liquid's winless finish in groups at this event even more disappointing. Nowadays, Brazil is just a straight up good region, maybe even a little too good. Back to EU and NA, they unsurprisingly dominated this event. The combined match record of EU/NA versus Brazil/APAC was 11-3, and Ninjas in Pajamas was the only team not from the big 2 regions to make playoffs. Now that bracket was a bit funky. One side had all 4 European teams that advanced, and the other side had all 3 NA teams at the event and Ninjas in Pajamas. And eventually, Europe and North America's strongest soldiers met in the grand final. Now we have just one more major topic to cover, and it's the big one, G2. Back in 2018, the G2 dynasty was alive and well. In fact, this is that legendary squad's first event playing under the G2 banner. Everyone remembers them as G2, and this is where they officially became G2. They were Penta before this. And I don't know if it was because of the shiny new org or what, but this was probably their most dominant event of all time. And for the winningest team ever, that's saying something. Their dominance was actually a big part of why this event was so uncompetitive. They went 5-0 on series, 11-1 on maps, and they won just shy of 70% of their rounds played. Strangely, the only map they lost in the whole tournament had a score of 0-6 against Mocket in their first groups match. As for their last match, they played against Evil Geniuses in the grand final.
For the spray, and MVK will go down. That's Goga being lost by Young, holding the angle. Extra gas canister shot in the back. As Jonas again, the second kill. One more up top. He finds him. Bengu gets the kill on Necroc. Interrogation! What going happening? Cough him up, Jonas. There you go. All are spotted at BC. And Claymore kill on Fabian. We've seen it all, and it's literally round number 2.
This was the quintessential rivalry of the early days of Siege, but you wouldn't know it from the match and its infamous scoreline.
6-2, 6-2, 6-2, G2!
EG most certainly wanted revenge for the SI 2018 Grand Final reverse sweep against them, but all they got in Paris was humiliated. Unfortunately for EG, their finish line woes wouldn't end there, but that is a story for another day.
Ladies and gentlemen, G!